So we've talked a little bit so far, remember, about the ski as a tool, how to get it to engage snow and maybe to carry us where it is that we want to go by how do we direct the ski through those inputs. What I'd like to do now is move a little bit into how the body works and some of the things that we know about the body and the way that it works, and how we can later, we'll explain how we want to use that to make those controlling movements. If I want to put pressure onto this point of the ski, the corresponding part of my foot that deals best with that would be the ball of the foot. So we're looking at how do we get pressure to the ball of the foot to maintain this balanced position on the ski in controlling it where we want it to go. So let's start with that. And I know a lot of people talk about gait, gait being the cycle of walking and how the body works when it walks. Many people, when we talk about this, have an understanding that there's two terms really that we want to talk about. One is pronation and the other would be supination. When we relate that to the gait cycle, as the foot comes down in gait, it's in a supinated position. It's rolled base of the foot towards the center line of the body. As it comes down and weight begins to go on, the foot moves towards pronation. When it moves towards pronation, that unlocks the bones of the foot. So pronation tends to unlock and loosen the bones of the foot, making them adaptive to terrain, so that when the foot comes down, it will wrap around and adapt. We didn't always have flat surfaces and shoes. When you're thinking about 10,000, 100,000 years ago, the foot had to adapt to whatever terrain we had because we were trying to get away from whatever was chasing us. So the first thing that happens, the foot comes down as from a supinated position towards pronation, adapting to terrain, and then as weight comes onto it, the other leg swings through. Now you may notice as this leg swings through that this leg actually rotates into the opposite direction. So as it comes down, it rotates in slightly, unlocking the bones of the foot. As the weight comes onto it and the other leg swings through, you can see that it rotates in the opposite direction, which would be resupinating the foot. If pronation unlocks the bones of the foot, then the opposite movement, supination or resupinating the foot, will tighten and engage the bones of the foot. And we can talk a little bit in a manner that will explain all that little process. But you can see, maybe you don't realize, but there's a number of bones in the foot, and many of these bones are keyed in a certain way so that when the foot pronates, they unlock and disengage, and when the foot resupinates, they compact and move into a lever, because at that point we want to propel ourselves forward. We won't be able to propel ourselves effectively if the foot is still in an unlocked or over-pronated position. So now in the idea of creating this lever, when the opposite leg swings through, the foot resupinates, and then as we push off, the foot pushes from this ball of the foot, allowing us to propel ourselves forward. So when we start to think about how do I maintain pressure on the ball of the foot, we prefer to think of having the foot in that resupinated position, engaging the ball of the foot in a lever arm so that we have a solid foot inside the ski boot. So that would allow us to maintain pressure down on to the point of the ski that we talked about as the balanced and steering part of the ski. So we need to maintain pressure down onto that point through the entire turn. The question that people say is, well, then how do we edge the ski? And we'll get into that a little bit later. So just understand that the position that we want the foot in is not a pronated, unlocked position, but we want the foot more in the position of just at heel off, resupinated into a lever. Now you may notice that this has one hip slightly ahead of the other, very similar to the idea of counter rotation in skiing, and we're going to use that idea of countering to resupinate, engaging the bones so that we can maintain pressure down onto the ball of the foot. many people, when we talk about edging the ski, and I would say that most people, if I were to say to you, we're going to straight run down the hill and we're going to begin a turn to the left, and most people would show me how they do that. What we've seen is that they tend to roll an ankle, roll the knee into that position to get the ski up on edge. Problem that we look at with that is we just referred to the idea that when we roll the ankle into pronation, we've unlocked the bones of the foot. When that happens, it's very difficult to maintain pressure on the ball of the foot, and now we're actually putting pressure into the arch area and balancing it between the forefoot and the rear foot. And again, when we do that, you can see here that once the pressure comes away from this part of the ski into the rear midfoot and rear foot balance, that the ski does not bend the same way as it does from this turning balance point that we referred to. So we want to keep the foot into that levered position, and then the way we edge at that point is, again, the foot goes into the pronated position as we use gait. As we step across and roll, the foot is resupinated just about at heel off. At this position, the pressure is locked onto the ball of the foot, and now we talk about edging the ski. Well, how do we do it? We don't do this because this, remember, unlocks the foot. What we do at that point is a lateral movement, is we just let the center move inside the turn. So when I'm standing here, you can see that I can maintain the integrity, ball of the foot pressure, and the integrity here. Think about the pronation means that I've misaligned the bones. I've done a few other things that we'll get into later. Is I've gotten shorter, which is a weaker position to be in, as opposed to resupinating the foot and into a taller, stronger position to be in. And we edge the ski then not with what's referred to as knee angulation, which is sort of a misnomer, and I think most people will accept the fact that the knee is a hinge joint and it works in this plane, and when we use this referred to term of knee angulation, we're actually rotating the entire leg to get pressure. If we've unlocked the foot at that point, what we're doing then is we're applying pressure to the boot itself, trying to get the ski up on edge. So again, we look at it as two different movements. One is a rotary movement to resupinate the foot, maintaining pressure on the ball of the foot, and then a lateral movement of the center to the inside of the radius of the turn is what gives us the edging that we need. So to edge a ski, we engage pressure on the ball of the foot, we counter slightly to resupinate the foot, and then we move inside. So that would be a way to put pressure and to edge the ski and use the biomechanical knowledge that we know about how the human body works. So rather than trying to lean into a boot or to misalign the body and get into a shorter, weaker position, we would rather get into a stronger, longer, taller position, pressure still maintained on the ball of the foot, and then move laterally to put ourselves in a position that when the load comes on to the ski, it's directed up towards our center, not rolled in, misdirected, and then we have to hang on to that pressure, that load with the muscles. So we're in a much stronger, taller position, much more relaxed in extension than we are by shortening ourselves and driving into this pronated position inside the boot.